Yeah, I'll wait 1 more minute. So today, actually, we are a group of college students and the people who just finished the college. We actually initiated starting from our family and friends, and then now going to different colleges and all. So we have close to 200 members, and actually our whatever your talk and all being recorded usually, and then it will circulate around our members. Okay, so the idea is communication and leadership initially, and then, second phase going into more into technology and other things. So there will be two diversions. That's idea. So our actually the first phase, today we have some of our members who got a new job and all, like, so
very good, congratulations.
thank you. So here there are Mr. Selman. Actually he was a mechanical engineer. He got into career it's a AC company in Noida. And then Mr. Farhad, he actually is an instrumentation engineer in he got a job in Oman. And then Mr. Nihas, he got a associate analyst job in Lewis, Bangalore. It's a US company, right? And then Mr. Dukman Habib, he is a QA QC engineer in Abu Dhabi. They are all joined last 1 to 2 months. And
very
then,
good, very good.
Then these are the the woman bodies. Here Dr. Surumi, she did the MD and she's now working in Government Medical College Thrissur. And Ms. Hanina, she's working in TCS Kochi. And Dr. Mubina, she is DNB in Rajagiri Hospital, Aluve. And then Ms. Hania, she's my daughter. She is project engineer, Wipro in Chennai. And Ms. Safna, she is a full stack developer in a French bank. It is Society General.
Yep, I know.
And then Sana, they are twins actually, associated consultant in Oracle Financial Service Bangalore. And Ms. Lubna, she is academic support service in Fairleigh Dickinson University in Canada. It's closer to you. And Ms. Fida Kolakadan, she is a assistant professor in psychology in MES Perindalmanna. There is a college there. So these are the recognition usually we circulate in the group members. So I just
very nice. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you. Yeah. So let us start. I think let me see.
Okay.
Anan, you are there or?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, you can just start introducing our team.
Hello, welcome you all to Team 2. Today is the 9th meetup of Team 2. What is Team 2? We all know communication and leadership are the key skills for job in the corporate world. The objective of Team 2 is to promote communication, collaboration, public speaking, social and leadership skills. Why Team 2? Through Team 2, we're connecting new generation. Team 2 is for collaboration. There are lots of experience within the group itself for higher studies or jobs. You can get guidance. People within the community can help each other. Team 2 is for communication. We have a planned approach for communication and skill development with projects. Team 2 is for leadership. We are interacting with leaders as guest speakers to our session and provide a chance for discussing with them. So set aside an hour every weekend for self-development. We have 2 streams at present, technology stream and communication stream. So please join and grow with us. Today we have 2 guest speakers, Mr. Rafeek, President of Maxxion Systems USA, and Mr. Ravi M, founder and CEO of Fast Network Chennai. Next, we have a recognition program for Team 2 members who got placed into new jobs this year. Thank you.
Yeah, I think recognition I already showed initially. So let me call Dia to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Rafeek. Dia, you're there, right?
Yes. Hello everyone, I'm Dia. Today I'm going to be introducing you to our guest speakers. Our first guest speaker is Mr. Rafeek. He is the founder and president of Maxxion Systems, a software company based in Chicago and offices in Ohio and Kochi. By teaming up with different people and companies, he and his team has developed software for different vertical markets, including travel, healthcare, enterprise strategy, and automotive retail. Rafeek is always looking for opportunities for developing systems and software that can improve, optimize, and bring operational excellence into business processes, regardless of the industry. He is passionate about learning new developments in the software landscape. His current interests includes business use cases for AI and potential level 2 applications for Bitcoin blockchain layer. Rafeek is also involved in many social and community organizations that bring together people from different backgrounds and beliefs. He holds a master's degree in systems engineering from the University of Arizona and bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Government Engineering College, Trichur. He lives with his wife and 2 children in Chicago. We are honored to have you here with us, sir. Over to you.
All right. Thank you, Dia, for that kind introduction. And thank you, Ashraf, for inviting me to this group. On one hand, it is rather intimidating to present to into the young generation who are much smarter than us. And on the other hand, it is a pleasant experience to at least impart some suggestions and mistakes that we have encountered all along the way. So we'll make this an interactive session, if you don't mind. I don't have any presentation per se. We'll talk, Ashraf has given me about 30 minutes. So we'll just talk, I'll talk about 10-15 minutes about me, my background, and my view of things. And then you can ask me questions and I'll try to answer it. I'm from Trichur, a town in Kerala. For those who are not from Kerala, I did my schooling back in Kochi. Most of the time I was in a boarding school. Maybe that's why I got the independent streak in my the way I do things. I did my plus 2, or what you call plus 2 now, at Government Arts College in Trivandrum, and then did my engineering at Government Engineering College in Trichur. When we started engineering, that was in the early 80s, we didn't have a choice as far as what line to take or what line of engineering to take. So my preference was architecture, but at that time, the admissions was based on the percentage you get in your pre-degree marks. So I lost that by 0.2%. The cutoff was 94.7 and I got only 94.5. So I took my second option, which is civil engineering. I have to be honest with you, I have no interest in civil engineering, but I studied it. But during that time, I got into, some of you may or may not know about a hobby called ham radio or amateur radio, where at that time, because of lack of communication like this now, the only way to talk to other people around the world was through wireless communication, and ham radio allows you to do that. And I got really interested in that. And then also at that time, the computers was coming up, and we had the ability to integrate computer-based communication through ham radio. And that's how I first got into computers. And that's it. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew that it was something to do with computers, software, and systems development. Civil engineering was just a way to get the degree. I have never worked one day in my life as a civil engineer. So I pursued that line of my interest in computer science. And after engineering, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew something to do with computers. And one of my friends introduced me to, or the idea that, hey, you should go to try to do masters in US. I didn't know how to apply for it even. I don't know what the resources were at that time, but finally I got hold of it and applied few universities here. And the one that gave me an assistance, financial assistance, was University of Arizona. And they also accepted my application to the systems engineering and computer science department. That's how I landed up here in mid-80s. But I spent 2 years doing my master's. But those 2 years, I will say, was my toughest in terms of studying. I don't think I have studied that much in the previous 6 years of my college education. And that showed the difference in the way education is imparted here in US versus what I was exposed to in India. The main difference I found was, the reason I had to work a lot harder was because I was switching major from a civil engineering to computer science. So you had to take a lot of prerequisite classes to be admitted to the master's level classes. So the first semester I had double the load and was working probably 90, 100 hours a week. But as I said, the difference was that during my studies in India, we were always, I think that is true even now, we were always taught to answer questions. I remember for the pre-degree exams, we had to do hundreds and hundreds of integration and differentiation equations. Didn't know what was being done, but I had to find the answer. But what I learned here is that here more emphasis is on coming up with a question. I learned that with my kids going to school here, even from kindergarten onwards, they were taught to think for themselves, to come up with problems, come up with scenarios. So in the world of business, you get paid for coming up with the right questions, because you can always find answers anywhere in the world. There are a lot of smart people, but to come up with the right question that's appropriate for the time, appropriate for the space, appropriate for the current situation, that's where the game is. So the emphasis of education here is something that I found different compared to what I went through when in India. Anyway, I graduated from college, and then I worked for a small consulting company, again in the software business, software line. And then I got a job at a company called United Airlines. They no longer exist now in that name, but they were acquired by another company. But at that time, in the early 90s, United was the largest airline in the world, having about 700 fleets, 700 aircrafts in their fleet, and about 2,500 flights a day. The reason they hired me was in their research and development division. We had about 50 people. Majority of them were PhDs in math, stats, and operations research. Since my background was my focus was on operations research and computer science, they hired me. And we were working on some very complex and interesting problems in terms of finding optimal solutions for the flight scheduling, crew scheduling, maintenance scheduling of their fleets. And these solutions had financial impact on the bottom line of the company. So what we were doing had direct impact on the profitability of the company. So I worked there for 3.5, 4 years. Then I realized two things. One is that in order to go up the management line, or to go up in the company, you had to be coming from the operations side of the business. there were no executives in the company who had a technology background or who came up with that from the technology side of things. And the other thing I noticed was that during one of those years, in fact, the last year I was there, the company made a loss in the market for that quarter. And they announced a pay cut for their entire employees. At that time, I think there were about 27,000 employees. All of them got a pay cut. But the senior executives got all the bonuses. So I found that's a very disparaging, or it's a disparity that I didn't like. So after about 4 years, I quit and I started my own business. I started a software company. I had no prior experience in running businesses. I had no prior management experience, but I strongly believe that being my own and doing something my own, what I like, is far better option than being told by somebody to do some things. So I took the plunge and started my own business in the software. It was a struggle, I have to be very honest with you, in the first 2 to 3 years, because there was a lot of unknowns. There was difficulty to get businesses. We didn't know exactly what we were doing. But finally, I found the footing. We got into the, at that time, there were a lot of different ways you could be in the business. You could be in the providing software services or product development, or plain vanilla, what they call body shopping. That means you can recruit people and post them in different places. But I didn't find it interesting or technically challenging to be in that line of business. So I pursued the passion that I have for software to develop software products. So an opportunity came up to develop a completely new platform for a company, and we took up on that project, assembled the team, and I convinced the client to pay for the development, which will be credited to them over the years. So they agreed to it, and that's how I got started. And now that software is used by more than 30 companies, and over the years, other people, other companies, other colleagues, people who knew about what we do, how we do it, came to me and suggested different product solutions or product solutions for different markets, and we got into it. Now we are into multiple different vertical markets. I'm still passionate about software. I'm still learning about software. There's so much to learn. I'm trying to keep up, but it's a very expanding area. So you can only learn so much within the limited time that you have. So that's where we are right now. So that's a brief introduction, Ashraf. If that's some, if you want to ask any questions or anything, I'll be more than happy to answer. Ashraf?
Yeah. So it was, nice story. Yeah. So, you told about the education, right? Back in India and then in US, right? Can you just tell, how it is different, in your, based on your experience? Yeah.
Well, what we learned in India, I'm not sure if it is true right now, but when talking to some of the nieces and nephews, I still think we are pursuing the same model in India, where we are tested on your ability to memorize. That is, you are given, 95 different questions, and answers are on the back of the book. And when you go to an exam, you're supposed to remember all these questions, and whoever gets to remember it the most and gets the highest percentage. That doesn't tell whether that person is creative, whether they have the capacity to learn and understand new things. It just is a measure of your memory capacity. What is different here was that the first semester, they gave us an open book exam. I've never learned or knew about an open book where they said, the professor said, you can bring any book you want and I'll give you questions. And that turned out to be, the open book exams turned out to be more difficult than the regular exams, because the questions they ask make you think. All the home things that they teach you, makes you think. So as an example, at least in my case, during college, we were taught integration and differentiation. At that time, you can put 100 questions in front of me, I can answer it. But nobody gave the emphasis on why do you do integration? Why do you do differentiation? Or why is that the fundamentals of it? They may have taught it, but that was not the emphasis. So here, what I found is that it's more the application of those theories, the practical application of those theories was more emphasized during the college years. Even though I only did it for 2 years, I could see that when my kids go to school here, even from kindergarten onwards, on day one or on the first week, they are supposed to make a presentation on some subject, and they have to make a presentation in front of the class. So they don't have the inhibition from day one to talk in front of people. In the entire college career back in India, I've never given a presentation except for one time. So that changes the way you approach when you go into the business life or the business career, where here you have to make a presentation, you have to think for yourself, and that trains you in a different way. That's what I found during my college years here.
Good, thank you. Others, any questions you can ask?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask, like, you took civil as your BTech course, right?
Right.
How do you cope up with the math? Like, in the end, by the end, you were like doing optimization for parts and all. So
Yeah.
that is obviously all calculus and probability. So how did you cope up with it? And like, don't like recruiters ask you, like, you have a degree in like civil and mechanics, and like, how do you prove them like you have like a strong base in mathematics and like you're into this field?
A good question. I think in civil engineering also you have to be good at, you have to learn a lot of the maths. You have math classes and all the math problems to solve. So, so we did math, not to the type of math that are needed.
Civil is mostly geometry, right?
Right. So we had to. That's
Geometry.
why I said when I started my master's, I had to switch from civil engineering to operations research and computer science. The degree was in systems engineering, so I had to take a lot of prerequisite courses in the first 6 months. But that includes basic stats, probability, stochastic math, all this linear programming, complex programming, etc. So yes, the first 6 months was really tough because you had to switch the subject that you have to learn. But fortunately, I was able to do that. Then you asked about recruiters. Well, at least here, the thing, first of all, I only interviewed with one company in my life. So I have not gone to the corporate world except for about 3-4 years of my life. So at that time, the department that I was going to, or the company that I was going to, were only looking for people with the background in operations research, specific area, and computer science. So they were not worried about any other things that you did. Also, what I find here is that when you go to job, when you interview for job here, they don't particularly care what your background is, as long as you can address you have the capacity and the skills necessary to fulfill the job here, what they're looking for. You could be a psychology major and go into computer science. One of the best programmers that I've come across in my career is his bachelor's was in psychology, and then he did a master's in computer science. So at least here, your bachelor's degree or your master's degree or your education has some relevance, but not very relevant, especially in the computer science or the line of area. I can't comment about other professions like law or medical science or things like that. I don't know enough about it to comment about it. But at least in the technology area, that's what that's my understanding.
Thank you, sir.
You can call me Rafeek. Very rarely people call me sir.
It's American.
I mean, that's your first name, right? Like, what kind of used to calling sir in India?
I understand that. Okay.
Anybody else? Other questions?
I'm not an engineer.
Okay.
That's fine. Like to know,
that's perfectly okay.
you switched from civil engineer to computer science. How was that?
Well, one word is difficult, but as I said, I was passionate about computer science and computer programming from very early on. So I don't. It was tough to switch it, but I don't find it as difficult. I mean, because you're pursuing something you really like. So I always tell somebody when some people ask me, "How do you like what you're doing, or what's the work you're doing?" I tell them, for the last 20 years since I started my company, I've not worked one day, because I don't see this as work. I like it. I enjoy it. If you want to talk software at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm ready. So that's why I don't see it as work. So I like doing this kind of thing. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it was tough, but you have to go through it.
Thank you.
Okay, and let me ask a question. See, in the business, right? When you getting into the business, see, what is the turning point? See that when you are going in a pace, you started with like a small company, and then there will be a growing stage, right? So how do you find, especially the tough competition around, right, in US, in India, generally? So how do you find yourself to go to a growth level to a higher level, starting from a small company all the way up, and that also without having too much of connections and background and other things, right? If somebody is starting start from fresh.
Yes, as I said, the first few years was difficult, but you have to pursue it. You have to persevere through it. You have to have the stomach to handle adversities. No question about it. I learned it all the hard way, and part luck. I mean, I cannot say it's all. I mean, you have to put in your work, but at some point things will work out. Just don't know when. But in my case, the breakthrough came when somebody I knew from another consulting arrangement contacted me a few months later, saying that, "Hey, I moved to another company. Can you come and take a look at what we do here? Is there anything that we can do to improve the things?" So that's the break that I got. Was it predetermined? I don't know. Did I go for it? No, I did not. So that was the break I got. If that didn't happen, something else would have come across. You have to be optimistic about how things will turn out. So with that break, and also you have to be bold a little bit to think and ask for something beyond what they expect. So when this company contacted me, I went and looked at the systems. They were using a very old, at that time, maybe 15, 20-year-old system. And at that time, the web technology was maybe 5 years into the market. And we proposed a solution that used that new technology at that time, and they liked it. And but I also said that I don't have the funds to do it, so they advanced the funds. So in a way, you can say that the first customer paid for building our company. And then one thing is that once you do a good job, once your customers are happy about the way you solve the problems, approach them, service them, the word gets around, saying that. So in the industry circles, in the specific industry circles, people will get to know about you, and that's the best form of reference. So we got a lot of referral businesses from the other companies in the similar market. So that's how we grew. So that's how I got into it. But that's one way of doing it. I'm not saying that's the only way of doing it. Many of the startup companies now, they start it and then they go for funding from venture capitals, and they help you promote it. But you give up something on it. So in my case, good or bad decision, whatever it is, didn't want to get into get funds from other sources, because that will change the focus. So I stuck with what I believe in, which is self-funded organic growth. So it has its downside, but at the same time, I don't have anybody calling me at 10 o'clock to get the latest update.
Okay, good. Thank you. Any questions? Any more? And you have yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just asking, like, since you own your own company, did you recruit people, or like, do you have HR for that?
We have, our company structure is that we have most of our sales and marketing team here in US, who does the sales and marketing for our products in different markets, different vertical markets to businesses here. So we have the sales and marketing team here and a small support team here. But all our engineering, design, development, and support is based in Kochi. So the hiring part happens in Kochi. I don't get into that on a day-to-day basis. We have a team there managing that. I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, like I just wanted to know, like, if you recruited people, what would you like look into the person? Like, what would you want out of the person? So like, since question. You don't recruit, I don't know.
Yeah. Yes, I have interviewed few people, but I would not say that I've done recruitment at the technical level lately. I am looking for somebody who can independently think, who is passionate about what they are getting into, or they should be passionate about software if they want to do this. I'm not too particular about whether they have degrees from good schools or their GPA. It does matter, but not terribly important. But more looking at two or three things. One, their attitude towards the work. I mean, are they coming with an open mind? Are they willing to learn? Are they willing to take risks? Then that's mainly the things that and they have to think for themselves. They are enough smarts to think for creatively. That's mainly the things that I'm looking for somebody if I'm hiring somebody.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you. So yeah, I ask you actually the Zoom. Now we are actually using the trial version, so it might disconnect.
Okay.
So in case
Okay.
disconnect, just rejoin the same link again. So
Sure.
we have the second speaker also waiting. So
Okay.
thank you, Rafeek. Thank you for your wonderful speech. Your story was really for an entrepreneur, it's a good story. And then. Hope maybe our students, right, they may eventually go to engineering or BSc or something, and they might approach your company in Kochi for job.
Right. Yes. Yeah. As I said, most of the people are working towards a job